Aperture. Is it aperture or aperture?
It's aperture.
Aperture. Today, we talking about aperture. So here's the thing about aperture. So what I want to do is, there's a marker.
Found it. So, aperture. What is aperture? So, aperture plays an important role in composition and setting up a great shot. So you can see the aperture in the lens. It's the little thing that's, you know what? Let's just go to the whiteboard. Aperture. Aperture is a small hole in your lens in which light travels through, going through your camera body, hitting your camera sensor. The way we like to express aperture is by f numbers, or as we like to call it, f-stops. Having a lower f-stop means you have a more wide aperture, and what this will do is it'll isolate either the foreground or the background of your object, making everything else blurry. Now, with a higher f-stop, our aperture is more narrow. So as I bring up my f-stop, you can see that the foreground and the background are becoming more in focus. So that's how aperture affects depth of field. Now, how does it affect light? Think of how a human eye works. When you move into a dark environment, your iris is expanding your pupil, which is your aperture, letting more light in. And vice versa, when you move into a bright environment, your iris is shrinking your pupil. Again, that's your aperture, letting less light in. So let's recap. Now, the smaller the f-stop, the more wide my aperture is going to be, resulting in a shallow depth of field, allowing more light to come into my camera. And the higher the f-stop, the smaller my aperture is going to be, giving my image a deeper depth of field, again, letting less light into my camera. Make sense?
So this is how we use aperture in real estate photography. For the most part, I would say about 98% of the time, regardless if we're shooting exterior or interior, we like to keep our aperture between 7.1 and 9 because we want to make sure everything is in focus. And the other 2% of the time, maybe we're shooting a home where there's some fruit trees in the back, and that's a really good selling point that real estate agents love to include in their marketing. As you can see in this photo, I get really artistic with these shots. I love to bring my f-stop down to 4.0 so it gets really honed in focused on that lemon, and even though the background is blurred, you can still make out that it's a really nice backyard. I remember when I first picked up a camera, aperture was one of the more difficult camera settings for me to learn. So if you need to, go ahead and rewatch this video, or throw a question in the comment section below. And you know the drill. Make sure to like this video, because we need some likes. Share it, because we need some shares. And make sure to subscribe, because we damn sure need some subscribers, shoot. How about this? Our 1,000th subscriber gets a free Canon 5D mark.
What? That's my camera. You can give your camera away.
Okay, we're not going to give away the Canon 5D. Just make sure to subscribe, man. Make sure to subscribe.